Welcome. I hope that you are having a good week. Today I'm going to be giving you an honest review of Scream. And I don't mean the original Scream, I don't mean any of the other Screams. I mean the Scream from 2022, the new Scream, as I'm making this video anyway. And I don't know, I mean, at first I was wondering, why didn't they just call this Scream 5 or something, or some iteration of that? But actually, when you go into the movie, you actually realise why they've chosen it as just Scream. But just before I go any further, I just want to let you know there is going to be spoilers during this review. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, go and check it out and then come back and listen to my review of the movie. And also wait till the end and you will hear what my rating is for this particular movie. So for those of you who don't, well, I mean, I was around, because I am that old, I was around at the time when the original Scream movies came out, and I have to say they were, you know, in the very typical slasher movie type of things, like from the 70s and 80s. You know, they kind of recreated the slasher movie in some ways, and I actually really liked the original Scream movie. Wasn't so keen after the second one. The second one was okay. I thought that was very good as well. But after that, you know, getting into 3 and 4, and it just didn't seem really... It was a bit too repetitive, and I didn't really enjoy the last couple of movies. So when I heard that they were going to be making this, I was a bit concerned, because I was thinking, is it going to be a reboot? Is it going to be just another continuation? Because, you know, lately Hollywood have been very keen on the old nostalgia trip. You know, you've got Spider-Man No Way Home, you've got Ghostbusters Afterlife, and of course now you've got this. And they all, one of the things that they try and do is bring in old characters. The characters, bring them back from the original movies to be in the new movies. So, you know, they're on this bit of a train at the moment of this type of thing, but it doesn't always work. And I was wondering if this would work, or whether this would just be one of those things that was a movie too far, as I think number 3 and 4 were, to be fair. But I watched it, and I have to say I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very good movie. I thought that it was visually very good. You know, the cinematography was great. I really enjoyed the you know, the false jump scares. You know, obviously slasher movies and that kind of thing, you have a jump scare in it, and a lot of the classic jump scares that they used in the original movies, they used them here, but they were false jump scares. So the tension would build, the music would build up, and then nothing. And that was quite cool the way they did that, to kind of almost send up the own genre, if you know what I mean. And you did have some returning characters. You had, well, the new characters that were in there was Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera. They were playing sisters, and I have to say, Jenna, I mean, goodness me, she spent more time in the hospital during this movie than any other place in the whole of the movie. You know, she must have gone into the hospital 3 or 4 times during this movie, and I think, you know, goodness knows what her medical bills are going to be when she comes out, because she spent so much time in that hospital in one way or another. But it was fun. You know, the way that they did it was great, and the way that they weaved it into the way that things were working out was quite fun as well. Melissa Barrera was a very interesting character. She had a boyfriend who was Jack Quaid, and he was, you know, they were good together, and, you know, and it worked out. You know, they had a good relationship together, and they seemed to have good on-screen chemistry. I don't know if I'll edit this out. I can't be bothered. Anyway, it was a good chemistry between the two, and I thought that they played it really well. So you have these two sisters, and Jenna is the first kind of victim of the killer, and you think to yourself, it was very much a hark back to the original Scream movie. It was done in a very similar way, and I enjoyed that. I like the way they were kind of paying homage to the original movies, as well as adding new concepts as well, and making fun of the original movie, while also being faithful to it, if you know what I mean, if that makes sense. And it was great. It was great the way they started off with this very similar scene at the beginning of Scream, and then of course they were trying to find out who could have done this to Jenna's character, and it was around this point that you started to see some of the other new characters that were coming in, and they were blaming each other for being the killer. And at one point I thought to myself, how are these guys ever going to be friends again? Because they're just standing there accusing each other of being the murderer. And they brought in one of the first of the original characters, which was David Arquette, who came back as Dwight Dewey. And he was great. I loved him in the original movies, and he was fantastic in this as well. He was, a very messed up character in some ways because of everything that happened to him in the previous movies. But they went to him for help, and thankfully he decided to help them. But didn't work out too well for him in the end. But I say this is a spoiler review, so you have to be careful. But we also were greeted to Courtney Cox, who came back as Gail Withers. And also you had Neve Campbell came back as Sydney. And I thought they worked really well together as well. They were the kind of old guard who had been there, seen it, got the T-shirt, trying to tell the younger guys here that actually this is a pretty serious situation. You want to be careful. And the younger ones were all like, oh, yeah. Well, we all know who the killer is, don't we? And this kind of thing going on. And that was great to see that, the way they brought them into the movie. And they weren't bit parts by any means. They were in the movie for a good chunk of time, all three of them, which was great. I loved it that they did that they didn't just have them as a cameo, token gesture coming in and saying a few lines and then walking off again. They did play an integral part in the movie, which is great. I really enjoyed that. And it was a great movie to watch, actually, because sometimes with these type of movies, I mean, the gore, for example, was much worse, I think, than the original Scream movie. If you're the type of person that's squeamish, oh, I'll come up with a new word there. If you're a type of person that's squeamish, then you may want to consider not watching this movie, because it is very bloodthirsty and there's a lot of blood in it, and much more so than I think the original Scream movie. But I quite like that kind of thing, and I quite enjoyed the way they were doing the killings in quite inventive ways, if that makes sense to you. But it was very good, and they, as you were going through the film, they were talking about the rules of being in a slasher movie, about how you always suspect the person who's the love interest, and you never go into a basement on your own, and all this kind of thing were going on. They were talking about the rules, and as they were playing out these rules, they were falling foul to it. So it was great to see them kind of sending up that kind of thing, and also having those things actually act out. They also made a reference to fan culture, and about how the fans, are very, how about the fans were going mad over the fact that they changed the movie, and that, it's not like the original movie, and this kind of thing. And this is one of the reasons why it's called Scream, is because they called this not a sequel or a reboot. It was a mixture of the two. It's not quite a sequel. It's not quite a reboot. They didn't make a word for it, but I can't remember what that word is now. But a requel. I think they called it a requel, which is basically a movie with the same original name as the first movie, that kind of has nods to the original movies, but isn't a sequel. It's a continuation. A new generation of people who are going to be killed by this character, if you know what I mean. And I think that's going to happen. I think, because looking at Melissa's character, Sam Carpenter, she has some skeletons in her closet, which I'm not going to reveal because I'm going to keep that spoiler. But she has some skeletons in her closet that they could very easily work into another movie. So I think we're looking here at a possibility of them going forward into maybe another trilogy of movies or something like that, or another movie with her certainly as one of the main protagonists. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was one of those movies that doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's good to have that kind of suspending disbelief for a little while. It's one of those movies you can just go and you can watch and you can enjoy it if you like that kind of genre of movie, and then come away without too many questions being asked and things like that. It was great. I really enjoyed it. And if you want my honest opinion, if you want my honest rating of the movie, I'm going to give this movie 3 out of 5, because I think that there are other things they could have done. There were things in there that didn't quite work out, but generally, overall, I thought it was a very good movie. But not the best that's ever been made, so it's not going to get a 5. But I think a solid 3 is something that shouldn't be sneezed at. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you've seen this movie, let me know. I'd love to hear in the comments what you think. Do you think they should carry on with these new characters, or do you think that this was a movie too far? Do you think they should have stopped at 4? Let me know in the comments down below what you think, and also while you're down there, please do consider subscribing and clicking the bell for notifications so you can hear more movie news and reviews as I make them. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you've had a good day. Till next time, stay safe and bye-bye.